up, Cinema Shogun here, and as all of you all already know by now, Carlee Russell admitted that she lied about getting kidnapped, and she received 2 misdemeanor charges. And it looked as if the Carlee Russell story was basically over. Or at least, that's how it seemed. You see, a lot of us, we still have questions. We want to know, where was Carlee Russell for that 49 hours? Did Carlee Russell have help? Who was Carlee with? And why did Carlee Russell decide to try to pull off this elaborate scheme in the first place? A lot of us have those questions, but often it's not important. You know, it doesn't really matter if the general public has questions. What matters is if law enforcement still has questions. And apparently, the Hoover police chief did an interview today that we're about to watch in just a moment. And to my surprise, he confirms that the investigation is ongoing. Yeah, they charged her with 2 misdemeanors so far, but the investigation is still open. And, you know, he reveals a little bit of information in this interview. It's actually quite a lengthy interview. And to my surprise, this is not an open and shut case. They're still trying to figure out if someone helped Carlee, and apparently they're trying to figure out where Carlee was still. So the investigation is still very much open. And it's not like an open investigation that they're not worrying about. From the sound of things, they're still actively looking into this case. They're still actively investigating where Carlee Russell was when she ran off for those 49 hours. Without wasting any more time, I want to go ahead and dive right into this interview. As you all watch this interview, go ahead and start dropping your comments down below about everything you think. Feel free to drop as many comments as you want, but make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And after this quick little interview, and I say quick, it's kind of a lengthy interview, I'll be right back with more thoughts, but make sure you listen because it's revealed that this story, it's not over.
Russell kidnapping hoax is now the catalyst for potential legislative action. As you know, Senator April Weaver is introducing a new bill in the next legislative session that creates a felony crime for faking an abduction.
As you know, for some 49 hours, there was great fear that Carlee Russell had been kidnapped, but we would learn by her own admission it was all made up. Carlee Russell now faces 2 misdemeanor charges that critics have said are too lenient. In his first interview since that news conference announcing those charges, the police chief of Hoover, Nick Durzis, joins us in studio this morning. Chief, good morning.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
First of all, your reaction to how quickly some of the state legislators have jumped on your thoughts at that news conference saying these charges should be tougher on Carlee Russell.
Well, I think not only the legislators here, but people around the country have emailed literally that day to say, I can't believe that that's all the penalty would be. I heard from several legislators on Friday within hours of that press conference. So it makes us feel good that the general public does think that this is a little ridiculous when you consider those 49 hours that she was gone and all the expense and local and state and federal law enforcement officials that were looking for, and thank goodness we were able to make that she made it home safe, that it would be like someone going out and shoplifting less than $500 worth of merchandise. It's the same penalties. And I think when people see that there's got to be some sort of enhancement, that when you fake a kidnapping or some type of violent crime, there's got to be additional penalties for it.
Tell us the resources. Give us a little bigger picture, though, the resources that are activated when something like this happens, because we know the federal government, the FBI gets involved anytime you're talking about an abduction or kidnapping.
Sure. We called out the Army literally that night because, of course, the girl was on, Carlee was talking to 911. All of a sudden, she's talking to an aunt. The phone goes dead. Here's a little scream. Our officers get up there a couple of minutes later. no Carlee, no baby. That's what obviously said was a baby on the interstate, and obviously we started calling out other shift members, detectives, our drone operators. Ended up calling the county. We got to get dogs up here. Made calls to the federal government. The next morning, the Secret Service got involved with getting the telephone to try to find out what we could on that telephone that was left on the side of the road itself. So again, it's all hands on deck, and we take that real serious when a crime we think has occurred.
How quickly and how much time had passed before you and your colleagues started to realize this probably is a hoax? Did that happen shortly, or walk us through those few hours?
Well, initially when I got the phone call at home, I was home and they called and said, we've got this situation that's just occurred, and talked about the baby on the interstate. A little skeptical in myself, baby on the interstate, that we didn't get any of the calls. But I've known over my long career that you never say never, because things that sometimes I thought, that's a little strange, ends up obviously being true. So we took that very serious. I guess really when we started really getting skeptical was when we got the video of the interstate that showed pretty much the vehicle traveling, and then especially the distance that it traveled. And then it took about 24 hours before, or maybe less than 24 hours, when we started getting the extraction from the cell phone. And we started seeing the things like, Amber Alert, taken.
The searches that she had
made. And then of course, then you really start thinking, wow, this doesn't make any sense.
Chief, I know you mainly deal in facts, so this is going to be a hypothetical, but let's just say, for instance, the family did not go on a morning network show, and she came out immediately after that, public apology, I'm sorry, I exhausted all these resources to try to find me. Would you think the charges still would have been levied against her? Would you still have pursued those?
Well, again, that's all hypothetical, so it's kind of hard for me to answer, because that's not the way it occurred. So it's kind of tough.
What prompted you then to seek out the State Attorney General's office for help on this?
Well, obviously we had talked to the District Attorney, Lanice Washington. First of all, we felt like since this became not only national but international story, that it made more sense to go to the county, even though it's a misdemeanor, and let them prosecute instead of us, since we've done all the investigation and then prosecuted ourselves. So we talked to Lanice Washington. She was on board. Then we talked to the clerk of the Bessemer Division. She decided that it made more sense to go back to Hoover, and they did not want to issue a warrant, send it back for our people. So I felt like then it just made sense that since they didn't want to issue the warrant, then they probably shouldn't prosecute it. So if we're going to do the misdemeanor in our court, it just to me made sense to let the State Attorney General let them prosecute it and kind of get us out of the prosecution business.
You had, after that network interview that Mike referenced, you said you started getting contacted from all across the country. People thinking there was a kidnapper on the loose in the city of Hoover, and the Hoover Police Department wasn't talking about it.
Sure.
Your reaction to that?
Yeah. Well, I think after that national interview came out, and they said yes, that there had been a kidnapping. There was no question about it. That it was time that we started bringing out the facts. And like I said, we laid out the facts that day and let everybody make their own opinion. But my opinion at that press conference was that this did not happen the way they said it did.
I know you have a job to do, and y'all do it well, but it can't help but get personal sometimes, I would imagine. How personal did this feel to the whole Hoover Police Department?
Very, very personal. I mean, we're a department that if a crime takes place, any type of crime, we take it personal, because we don't want anybody doing anything to anybody that lives in our city or visits our city. We want to be a safe place. And when that comes out, especially that particular night, the adrenaline starts flowing on the police officers that are showing up, the guys that are coming out, the drone officers. So everybody now thinks that a kidnapping is taking place. And you get hyped up. Your adrenaline, the blood's flowing, your heart's pumping. And when you're out searching, you don't really know what you're searching for or what you're going to find. And it's a tough scenario to go through that and then all of a sudden find out that everything that we did was really for naught. I mean, it did not happen.
But what a strange emotion it must be. Everyone certainly wanted Carlee Russell to be okay.
Sure.
And she is okay.
Right.
So it's a balance, isn't it?
Oh,
being glad
absolutely.
she's okay, but then being angry that it was all a hoax.
Sure, but let me say this to you. Under the circumstances, I like the result here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That she got home to her family, whatever issues that she's got, pray that they get handled. We'll move on. We've got other things. Still want to know some things. Still want to know. Where was she during those 49 hours?
So you don't know?
We don't. We have not talked to her at all since the night that she returned home at the hospital. Detective's very small interview. We've not talked to her since. And those are the type of things that I would like. I would like to know the end result of why.
I think a lot of people would know.
Yeah.
Do you believe she had help?
Well, again, we don't have those facts yet. The attorney's statement said that she did not. Where she was those 49 hours by herself, again, some questions that we hope that if they don't tell us, we hope that we figure it out ourselves, because again, we're still investigating.
Chief, because of the seriousness of the story, we didn't want to bring this up, but now that everything's out here and the state attorney general has taken over the investigation and the prosecution of this, but your fashion style became really a national story. So I'm just curious, how you felt about that, because I know you heard some of this reaction.
Well, I did, and again, I've dressed the way I've dressed for forever, and why all of a sudden it became a big deal, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm flattered that some people like it and probably others don't.
But fun to laugh about it now because everything's okay.
Yeah, thank goodness. Obviously, we would not be talking about this if things were not well, and it's been good. It's been fun, and people asking who my tailor is and so forth. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks for sure.
By the way, the suit game is on today as well.
With
The salmon. So, all right.
It's Easter year round for you. It looks good. It looks really
As
good.
we wrap up, is there a message for the people of Hoover and all the other folks who wanted to help in this situation here?
Well, as I said to begin with, it takes people with hearts to come out and be concerned and search for somebody that you don't know. And I think that shows a lot about our community. It shows a lot about the state of Alabama, that people are going to do this. And when people say, well, if this happens again, it's going to be treated just like it is just now. And it becomes a national international story. It does. And all we want to do is to make sure, thank goodness, that she returned home and safe and sound. And again, it's great to live in a community where people care about people.
All right, that'll be the final word. Hoover Police Chief Nick Durzis.
Thanks,
sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Throughout this case, I honestly thought that law enforcement most likely already knew where Carlee went for those 49 hours. I know in the last press conference they said that they didn't know, but I thought they were just being reluctant on revealing information. At this time, if they knew where Carlee Russell went, I think they would be comfortable saying it. So the fact that they still don't know where she went, that really sticks out to me. Because from everything I heard, they went to the Red Roof Inn, they checked cameras, they were checking around town. So apparently they must have not found any evidence at the Red Roof Inn. And that's where a lot of us kind of assumed that Carlee went. But it looks like that might not be the case. But the fact that they're still investigating this story, it comes as a big surprise to me. Because when they hit her with the little misdemeanor charges, I felt like it was just a wrap. I felt like they didn't really want to deal with this case or this story anymore. But the fact that the police chief is doing an interview with the local news outlets still talking about this case after you would think that the case is kind of wrapped up, it lets you know that this police chief, he took interest in this case. And I think in many ways he feels as if his police department has something to prove when it comes to this case because the entire world was watching. And right now, it looks as if y'all still can't figure out what Carlee did and where Carlee went. So even if it's just, wanting to show the world, hey, we're competent enough to find out what Carlee did, even if that's the motive behind keeping this investigation alive, I'm fine with that because I want answers. And it makes me feel way better hearing from the police chief that he wants all of the same answers that we do. We don't get this often, ladies and gentlemen. We do not. I want you all just to take a moment, not even a whole minute, just take 15 to 20 seconds to acknowledge that for once, for literally the first time, at least since I've been covering cases, we have a police chief that seems to be just as invested and interested in finding out answers to the questions in this story as we are. And he's wearing some very nice suits while doing so. I really like this dude. I really like this police chief. He comes across as a cool dude, a good dude, kind of snazzy, like that cool uncle. You know, that smooth talking uncle that's got the younger wife that hits on the waitresses when you go out to family dinners. I like this guy. I'm telling you, I like this dude. But yeah, investigation's still open. And I don't want to reach too far here, but it really makes me think, like, what are they really exploring here? Are y'all really dedicated in finding out where Carlee Russell went? If you find out, then what? Will that change anything? Will you add any more charges if you find out that she was with someone who helped her? Would they be charged with anything? Are you looking into the parents? That's what I really want to know. Because the fact that this investigation is still open, it really sticks out to me for multiple reasons. For one, like I said, I'm happy that they want answers to the questions that we all have. But it also makes me think that maybe they think there's more here. That maybe there's a reason to keep this investigation ongoing. And maybe it might not necessarily have to do with everything about Carlee Russell's appearance. What else is going on in that family, you know? But as of right now, it felt as if this story was over. But from the looks of it, it's not. We're not going to be getting the daily updates as we were. But I have a feeling that we have not seen the last of this case. I have a feeling that there's something else here. There's something else here. Maybe it will come out, maybe it won't. But there's definitely something. I can't put my finger on it. But I think that maybe Carlee Russell faking her disappearance opened, like, what would be the expression? Opened Pandora's box? You opened up this closet that was full of skeletons, and now people are peeking inside, trying to figure out what you and your family has going on. But anyways, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.